Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing the annual video of my favorite comic book series of the year. So I used to just list my pick of the weeks, but I think this is definitely a more fun video to do, so that's why I do it. Now also, little disclaimer, well I have two disclaimers. A, I have a cold, so I'm sorry about that. And then B, there are two series I probably would have added here, but just because they didn't have that many issues come out this year, I excluded them. And that was Snot Girl. I absolutely love that book, but I think there was maybe like 2 or 3 issues that came out this year. And then the other one was Paper Girls, just because it was wrapping up. There was maybe like 5 issues that came out this year, so I didn't add that one either, just because it was the end of the run. But I love those books, so I guess those are honorable mentions. So, moving on to number 10. We're going 10 to 1. And number 10 for me is Powers of X, House of X. So, this is a book that I think no matter what you thought of it, or what you think of Hickman's writing, changed the X-Men forever, or at least for a good amount of time, and brought them back to the map. I mean, we have like 20 X-Men books now, or at least we're going to have 20 X-Men books. And I mean, again, like it or not, but at least it brought back this franchise as a flagship, you know, right next to Spider-Man and the rest. So I really applaud Hickman for doing something different and having this comic be talked about every single week, and that was crazy. And I miss comics like that where you're just like, this is the must-read comic. It's like the Game of Thrones of comics. So I love the water cooler discussion that came out of it, and also there was some really great story that came out of it as well, especially with Moira, who, you know, kind of blew our minds. I loved House of X issue 2. That was a really well done issue. So I'm gonna give that 10. That's number 10, and the reason I put them together is because their stories really do weave in together. It's kind of hard not to put them together. So moving on to number 9, which is The Amazing Spider-Man. So I actually rewatched my video from last year to see what rankings things ended up on, if I still had some of the titles from last year. Amazing Spider-Man was a little higher last year, but I think because, especially as we're in the tail end of this 2009 story, it's the reason why it was a little lower. And also I think the arc with him and previous arc, I don't even remember what it was called. He was in the woods and stuff like that. I felt like that slowed things down a bit, but I still love this book, and I like where Spencer went with it. I love his voice for Peter, and I said this last year, and I continue to say this. I think it does a great job at keeping the classic feel of the book, but still with a modern twist and feeling fresh. And the artwork is always really spot on for this book. And as a Spider-Man fan, I'm really happy that he's back on the map and just telling great stories. So, moving on to number 8. I promise you this is the last number where there are 2 series in one, but once again, they are so combined, it was kind of hard not to put them together. And that was Go-Go Power Rangers / Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, mostly the Necessary Evil stuff that's been going on for a while. I continue to love how they redefine the Power Rangers with these stories and somehow living up to the expectations of Shattered Grid, but still telling its own narrative and not relying on Shattered Grid to tell a great story. And also what I really like, especially about the newer books here, is that we get to see some of the other Rangers as well. So we get to see the next generation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I think is really cool. And then exploring Tommy more and how that integrates into the story. And it's just such a great character-driven story. But also, the plot kind of rocks your world, too, with some of the twists and turns they end up taking. So if you're a fan of this franchise, it's just a great time to be a Power Rangers fan. And doing a great job from the artwork to the storytelling. So that's number 8. Moving on to number 7 is a book that I originally wasn't even going to pick up. And that's Naomi. I remember I'm like, Bendis has so many books out. Am I really interested in this? I don't know who this character is. And I had a light week, and I'm like, the artwork looks good. Let me check it out. And I'm so glad I did. This is definitely the best I've seen Bendis write since probably the creation of Miles Morales. And I like that he's a co-writer on it. I think that really helps as well. The artwork is out of this world. It's so crisp and clean and epic, and it's so good. And Naomi, if you don't know what the series is about, it's about this girl who lives in a small town. Nothing ever happens. Superman crash lands there for like a second, and everyone's really excited. But Naomi finds out that she's special and not from here. So it kind of reinvents the Superman tale for, again, a modern audience. And you just want to follow this girl's journey. She's very likable. Her supporting cast is really likable. You want to learn more about this town. I think the only negative is that we have to wait for the next season to come out. So, but we have been seeing Naomi in Bendis' other titles, but I really like Naomi itself. Moving on to number 6, which is Ghost Spider. And this is the Spider-Gwen title. And actually, I believe that Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, and Ghost Spider all came out this year. Like, it's from start to finish. Issue 1 of Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider came out, and then Ghost Spider issue 1. So I think that's interesting. But you guys know I love Spider-Gwen. And it's really hard to take over a title that is the creative team who created these characters in a mainstream book, especially for so long. They were on that title for like 50 issues, if you include both volumes or all the volumes. And Seanan, or I don't know if I pronounced her first name right, McGuire does such a good job at making it her own, and still instilling what we loved about Spider-Gwen in the first place. And every month I look forward to this book. I love how she develops the supporting cast, how she develops Gwen, and how she's growing as a character. So I love this book. I also like Takeshi's artwork. He was an artist for Miss Marvel, and I really feel like the coming-of-age style works really well here. And also Ian Herring is doing the coloring, who also was a colorist for Miss Marvel. So I think that really works really well here. Moving on to number 5, I believe this was actually my number 1 last year, and that is Runaways. I absolutely love this book, as you know, and it's just such a fun, character-driven book, and if you're a Runaways fan, it's everything you want. Rainbow knows these characters so well, and I think the reason why I didn't make number 1 this year, though, is that there are some slower parts, but that's also kind of what I like about this book, is that it takes its time just to be with the characters and just to enjoy their company. And I wish more titles would do that, where it's just issues of just character beats and character work and relationships. And there's some interesting twisted turns the series ends up taking too, especially now that they're superheroes, which is very different for Runaways. And the artwork is so good and so expressive, especially again going back to the relationships. You really get to see their bond through the visuals and just the way they look at each other, and that's just true talent. And Andres took over for Chris, and that's also a very hard thing to do, because Chris Aga's A-list artist, has been around for a really long time, and to be able to bring your own flair, but also kind of showcase what Chris was doing, it's just really great work there. So moving on to number 4, this didn't make my list last year, but blown away by this book this year, and that's the Immortal Hulk. I love where the series is going. It's so haunting. I like the politics and the philosophy that's being brought. But what really brought this higher for me this year is that it had to do with the Hulk family. It wasn't just Bruce going through hell and trying to come back. It's the mythology of everybody. Betty becoming this harpy. But just seeing all of Hulk's characters come back is so cool, and seeing how that relates to the mythology of it all. And it's just a really good book that every week or every month I really looked forward to and continue to look forward to. And the artwork, man, drop dead gorgeous how haunting this book looks. Moving on to number 3, speaking of amazing artwork, Invisible Woman. This is a book I don't think enough people were talking about. First of all, just to have Sue in the spotlight. The whole point of her character, sadly, was to be painted in the background with her powers. And it's like, yeah, we have a girl character, here she is. But now to show how strong she is, and really probably one of the strongest characters of the Marvel Universe. And I love the overall theme. So the theme is that, she was a spy. She ended up having a partner. We don't know where he is. She tries to find him. And the idea that Aiden was easily able to kill people. And, Aiden kind of always made fun of Sue, or maybe not made fun, or just poked and was bothered by Sue not killing anybody, because oh, you think you're better than me. And then the series ends with Sue saying no is the hardest thing not to kill people. That's why I'm strong. In the artwork, oh my god, the inventive ways to showcase Sue's powers, especially in an espionage book. I was blown away by this. And I really hope we get to see a sequel. I really feel like not enough people talked about this one, and I absolutely love this title. So moving on to number 2, another book that I was so surprised by, and that was Dial H for Hero. I've never read Dial H. I mean, it just never really was on my radar. And this was just so different and challenged. I wouldn't even just say the Dial H series, but comics, where we get to see Miguel and Summer and a lot of other people become heroes for a minute, and what that means, what that power actually means. And every issue kind of does a twist and turn on the mythology of Dial H, but always keeping Summer and Miguel's personalities in check. And they're so infectious, and you can't stop to not like them, right? And I love the opening of this book, too, where he's just so connected to Superman, and you're, like, right away, you're like, okay, I really like this book. And then the artwork, the way it celebrates from Team NT to, like, Archie comics, like, the different styles that Joe was able to do is mind-blowing. So check out this book if you haven't. I honestly, the only thing I'm upset with is that I'm not getting more than 12 issues, right? Because it did get extended by a maxi series, but I hope we get to see more of these characters, because I absolutely love this creative team and also this world. So, moving on to number 1, which is Valkyrie Jane Foster. I love this book. Speaking on, I think, challenging what has come before, it feels like something old but new at the same time. It really revels in everything we love about superheroes, secret identities, and how you balance it, and kind of just puts it on its head, especially secret identities, where just the latest issue, we have her boss, Jane's boss. Usually he'd be like the stupid one in a normal comic, where you're like, okay, I need to hide my identity. And Jane's like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to tell you who I am. There's those small moments where it just challenges everything we know about comics. And Jane is just such a lovable character. Her fight, her will, and then also her medical background, just so interesting. And that's a character, because obviously she was, who's usually the supporting character. The superhero always goes to the detective. They always go to the doctor. And to have the superhero be the doctor is really, really cool. And then it's just fun. The dialogue, like, Jane is just so, again, infectious and lovable, and I've loved her since Mighty Thor and even before that, but as a hero, I've loved her from day one, and I hope that she's here to stay for another 10 years, and I think she's really found her place, and just exploring this side of Marvel and the Thor universe is just so interesting. CAFU's artwork, man, the first issue where you get to see Jane fight is just like, oh my god, this is amazing. You see how she uses her powers, she has like these red eyes, and it's so cool that Jane is dealing with this morality idea too, and as a doctor, and as she's has to be the bringer of death. She's kind of like a Grim Reaper, but a nicer version of it, and she's also still a doctor, and how do you balance all that? So it's just kind of brilliant world building and character building, and I can't wait to see where this series goes next year. It's just a perfect book to me. So that's my number one. Let me know in the comments below what were your top 10 books of the year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go check me out on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her a Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out as well. Thanks guys. Bye.